Okay. So Antonios comes in and says, after Morbius, I feel like I'm kind of over with this universe. However, I'll give it a chance. It might be good. Who knows? The Venom films are quite fun, in my opinion. Yeah, I love Venom. I love Venom. Hey, Dad, how are you? Uh, nice. So I'll get to that comment in just a minute, actually. Yeah, no, look, I love Venom. I think Venom is a great, it's a fun movie. Okay, it's one of those super. It has that mixture of comedy and drama with his love interest and Michelle Williams and everything else. Hell, I even like Venom versus Carnage. Okay, it was 90 minutes. It was nonstop action. It was good stuff. But Morbius just was horrible. Um, I mean, there are characters out there that sometimes they don't need to have movies made, and I think this is one of them. And to your point, Antonius, I don't know what they're thinking. Okay, now I don't know if everybody knows this. So Spider-Man 2, okay, which won Game of the Year back in I think 2019, they're actually making a sequel. So that is supposed to be released 1 week from when the film was being released. I'm wondering if they won't either A, push that up, or B, because right now, if they don't, there's going to be something really, really bad about this. I don't think sales will do as well as Insomniac thinks. He says, "What's up, Dave? Seeing the trailer now, I'm kind of hyped about Craven." Yeah, I mean, right on, Dad. I mean, I think that it's one of those things where I think that this is going to be a wait and see. I got to be honest. The first trailer for me didn't do anything. I got to be honest. And after Morbius, what Antonio was just saying, I don't know how this is going to do. And I mean, look, it may be a ton of fun, but after Morbius, I'm really, really worried about it. Um, Antonio says Morbius wasted Michael Keaton quite badly too. One of the worst and dumbest post-credit scenes. Yeah, I mean, I never saw Morbius, so I can't really attest to that. But yeah, I wasn't going to waste my time. So let's move on. So, as you know, Kevin was making mention of Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers had this little film come out. And by the way, guys, I actually put up the spoiler cast this morning. It is now up there for your viewing pleasure. But Warner Brothers came out with this little picture. And this little picture had been in the works for almost 3 years. Okay. This was supposed to come out right around 2019, 2020. And I'm talking about The Flash. Now, this is just one of those things where you go, okay. I had always made mention that I thought the second Shazam film was going to be a litmus test for The Flash. The Flash on Friday and this weekend, and the final numbers, I'll get to the final numbers in a minute, just did not do what Warner Brothers did. And I think it happened for a couple of reasons. Okay. And I made this point in the spoiler cast as well. Number one, you had no marketing for this. It's not like you could go on a late night talk show and show clips and get people excited for it. Okay. Number two, you had an embattled star in Ezra Miller who hadn't said word one, who could do any press about this. Okay. Number three, you had a lot, and let's call it what it is, a lot of fan screenings. And what ended up happening was that it really hurt it a lot. So let me get to the article, okay? So this comes to us from the THR, the Hollywood Reporter, and basically talks about the Flash and Elemental and basically got iced. Now, I actually had read this, but anybody who's with me the other day knows. Okay, ugh. So such a refrain around Hollywood as the opening weekend circulated for the Flash and Elemental, starring Ezra Miller. It actually ended up for 55.7 million for the 3 days and 64 million for the 4 days. Okay, so final numbers will be tallied on Tuesday. The Flash had hoped for a 3 day start of at least 70 million, so it comes in ahead is disappointing titles such as Black Adam, which gained 67 million in its first 3 days. Overseas, the superhero tentpole also faced challenges. It opened to only $72 million from 79 markets, including a dismal $13.8 million in China, with a global opening north of $130 million through Sunday. The studio's leadership had been hyping this up for months, including James Gunn and others. Discovery CEO David Zaslav proclaiming that it was one of the greatest superhero movies ever made. Yeah, I'll get to that in a minute. Many critics don't agree with the assessment. The pick currently has a 67% on Rotten Tomatoes. A bigger problem, it got a B cinema score compared to A for Elemental. Box office pundits are divided whether Noah's off-screen woes are impacting the film's performance. They were arrested in 2022 multiple times for several controversies, culminating in the actor issuing a statement, apologizing for their behavior and saying that they would receive, quote, he was getting care for, quote, mental health issues, end quote. Noah walked the red carpet on Monday doing publicity. In the Andy Muschietti film, he plays dual roles. They play dual roles as Barry Allen, stars Michael Keaton, Ben Affleck, who makes a cameo, and Sasha Calle as Supergirl. Michael Shannon reprises his role as General Zod from the 2013 Man of Steel. Now, it goes on to say that Elemental earned an estimated $29.6 million for the 3 days, the lowest weekend debut ever outside of Toy Story, which started at 29.1. But then again, you have to remember, Toy Story was one of the very first pictures from Pixar. So they didn't know how that was going to do. Okay. So they're 20 years in almost. Now that was adjusted for inflation. Elemental earned another $17 million from its first 17 markets, including beating The Flash in South Korea for $3.2 million. And the movie stumbled to China for $5.2. So let's talk about this, because actually I want to get to this comment here by Dad. Said, I'm in the minority who actually liked Morbius. Jared Leto was still king. Yeah, I mean, look, the thing is, Leto, he was okay as a Joker. And you probably are in the minority, and that's great. I'm really glad you enjoyed that film. It's one of those things where, look, I think, and I say it all the time, right? Guys, film is subjective. So I think that it's really, you liking Morbius is fantastic. I mean, it will be very interesting to see what happens. He's he's an Academy Award. People forget about this. Jared Leto is an Academy Award-winning actor. Okay? He's an Academy Award-winning actor. So he has the chops to play whatever he wants. Okay? Russell Crowe is a 2-time Academy Award winner for A Beautiful Mind and Gladiator. Okay? I mean, you take a look at Russell Crowe's career, the last 4 movies he's done, it hasn't been so hot. Okay? He's done, the Thor Love and Thunder cameo. He's done the poker movie. I didn't want to say Poker Face, but that's not it. He's done the Poke's Exorcist, and now he's done this. So, there's something to be said about that. Anyway, so I'm really happy you enjoyed Morbius, Dad. I really am. So, getting back to this. As you may mention, Warner Brothers need to come back. They are in serious trouble. They're in serious trouble right now. And they have to really wonder what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. Because here's the thing. I think that this only making $55.7 million opening weekend hurt it dramatically. Okay? Because the fact is that they don't have any other. I mean, their next thing is coming out in August. And you've got to wonder, where do they go from here? Where do they go from here? Because they don't have anything else in the pipeline to really juice it up. It's not like they've got something to throw on Max, in the interim. Okay, so now you're waiting a couple of months. This is not good at all. And I think that, look, if even if this takes a 50% drop next week, and I'm being generous, but let's say 50%, you're talking about this movie making 24, $25 million. That's it. In 2 weeks, it will make $80 million domestic. And, whatever it makes overseas. This is going to be lucky to hit $400 million. Okay. I wouldn't be shocked to see this go on, put on pre-order. That's how badly this is almost like a Fast X situation. I mean, Fast X was, you know, that was on, iTunes for pre-order in 3 weeks. That's what this could be. It really could, because they need to get as much money as they can. As far as Zaslav saying what he said, with all due respect, the man doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay? He doesn't know what he's talking about. James Gunn is a much better filmmaker, and he has been in the game for over 20 years. He knows what he's doing. Okay? My question is this, and maybe everybody, down here in the chat and everybody else can in the comments can actually tell me this. What happens if in 2025 or 2026 if Superman Legacy fails? That's my question. Because if it fails, they are in serious trouble. And this is why James Gunn is taking the reins and directing this first film himself, because he doesn't want any screw ups. Okay. I think it's going to be fascinating. I really do. So, but this not making even a quarter of its budget back, I mean, it's going to be lucky to hit $500 million overseas, $400 to $500 million. And what do? Now, let's be frank. I want to say one other thing too, and I see your comments. I'll get to them in just a minute, guys. Um, I want to be crystal clear about something. This movie was always going to lose money. Okay, this movie was always going to lose money because it was one of those things where whether it was Battlestar and Miller, okay, or it was the storyline or whatever, this was always going to lose money. It's just a matter of how much money was it going to lose. So I think they're in trouble. Warner Brothers has got to do some serious soul searching, and now it's on James Gunn. I didn't blame him for this movie because look, this was not in his regime. Okay. And I think the multiple endings that they had and the, you know, um, the poor CGI and everything, I would love, and I've said this before, I think it's fascinating because we look at film, at least I do, we look at the here and now, and we look at it 5, 6, 7, 10 years from now. I'll be curious to see in 5 years how this is received. Because if this is received, this could be one of those films that's a cult following, okay? Like a Rocky Horror Picture Show or Wet Hot American Summer or Devil's Advocate or one of those kind of films. But it didn't do well in the theaters. So and by 5 years from now, they should have everything with Creature Commandos and they should have, the Batman 2 out, even though that's an Elseworld. They need a couple of big, big home runs here. So I'll be curious to see what happens. And like I said, if I had to make a dollar bet on what it's going to make next week, it's going to be around $25 million. Now, I always said that there's a chance it doesn't even win next weekend. That is a distinct possibility. So I had always said there were 3 films that were going to win 2 weekends. Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3, which it did, won the 5th and the 12th. The Flash, okay, and Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. And we got a story about that coming up. But the Flash may not even win next weekend because while Elemental really took a dive opening weekend, Bob Chapek and Disney had really accustomed people to watching films on Disney Plus. whether it was Turning Red or whether it was Soul or whatever it was. So trying to get them back in the theaters, even though Spider-Verse just came out, it's very difficult to get them back in there. So we'll see what happens with this. I'm fascinated. Anyways, guys, what did you think about the Flash's opening weekend? Do you think it was too low? How many times have you seen it? Will you go back and see it again? When do you think this is going to come on VOD? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments and I'll get back to everybody.